Welcome, welcome. Jamie Hernandez here, founder of Breakthrough Yoga Coaching Method, helping you bridge the gap between your spiritual practice and your business. This is take 3. Okay, so the truth about putting yourself out there and selling yourself on social media. So the number one truth is it doesn't matter how many followers you have or how many likes. You can have 1,000,000 likes, 1,000,000 followers, but if you are not able to talk to just one of your dreamiest clients and have a clear path to working with you, in other words, a clear path to the sale, then talking to millions of people will not get you more business. So I think, in this world of social media, we think about it from this numbers point of view. And really, when it comes to being able to work with you and when it comes to being able to sell your service, we have to learn how to have conversations with one of our dreamiest clients. So not just any clients. So the fact that people are liking your stuff, the fact that they're engaging with you on a regular basis, we don't want to misdiagnose or mistake visibility. So you can have this, great following and you're doing your thing and you're out there every day. But if your clients are simply having a relationship with you but don't understand how to work with you and what's the clear path to the sale, then that doesn't equal business. Yeah, so we don't want to mistake visibility with making more business. Yeah, so that's the truth about number one. So sometimes we can get into the metrics of it all, and really we have to understand how to talk to one client. So literally recently I spoke to a client and we had 3 conversations. They would have been 2, but we ran out of time on the second call, and we ended up working together, and he invested in a 4-figure investment to work with me. And I'm not saying that to brag or to, it's just when we start to have clarity, right, on who we truly want to work with and what they need to understand about themselves, what they need to understand about the process, and what they need to understand about who you work with, then when we speak to somebody, we really understand what they need to know in order for them to understand themselves, to understand the process, and to understand who you work with. So that's step number 2, is really understanding, does your clients, when you're putting yourself out there, what do they need to know about your process, right? What do they need to know about your methodology? What do they need to know about your offer or your gift? And it's super interesting because if you were to work with me, most of our clients, they have been in the healing realm or in their expertise for decades. And so it's so intuitive that we don't necessarily see ourselves as the expert. And so with our clients, what we do is a deep dive into their expertise, into their years of experience, into the years of their personal experience, their client experience, and their professional training. So I have one client where he is a long-term traveler. He's a travel coach, and he's been traveling the world for 10 years, 46 different countries. He's, sailed from the Pacific to the Atlantic. He's driven his van across New Zealand. He's been in the Amazon jungles. And the crazy funny thing about that is that sometimes our clients don't necessarily even realize their own expertise. So we create a deep process in self-study. Because when you have a self-study of your own process, then you realize, of course you have a process. If you have lived an experience with yourself and with your clients and through your professional training, then the process now is to study that, is to draw out the processes. And you think that something like that is, obvious, but with our clients, one of the other things that our clients need to know about themselves, because that's step number 2, is understanding what do your clients need to know about themselves. Very often our clients, what they don't realize or know about themselves is that their biggest asset is their ability to heal, their ability to move into spiritual practice, their ability to self-coach themselves. And so the interesting thing is when we put ourselves out there, if you are feeling a sense of confusion, a sense of they are going to judge me, what are they going to think about me, a sense of not necessarily being aligned with who you are and what you want to give to the world, then what we need to know about ourselves, especially empathic people, especially sensitive, especially people who are highly intuitive, is that we have, if those are your symptoms, we have a deeper unconscious wound that unconsciously tries to protect us when we move forward in our life and in our business. So because my clients are highly sensitive people, are empathic people, are people who are feelers, they feel everything, that comes online before the process of strategically putting themselves out there, before the process of understanding how to market themselves in a way that their message is clear. And that's what, if you were to work with me, that's what we would teach you. It's like, how do we speak to your dreamiest clients in a way that aligns with your most authentic self? So one of the things that we don't realize that stops us is the unconscious wound and that need to protect ourselves, that need to feel safe. And that is something unconscious, where if we're moving forward in our life, but we have a visceral feeling that as we expose our deeper truth, as we expose who we are at our core, and it is not safe, and we've all been taught this. We've been taught not to, we've all in some way have been rejected or abandoned in some way of our purest self. But here's the thing about intuitives and empaths, that feeling comes online first. That, because we feel before we get into the doing, right? So before we do anything, it's going to be a sensation and it's going to be a feeling. So if you're going to expose your deepest truths, and in the past, as you expose your deepest self, and you were not held in a way that was safe, and you were protected, and you were just being yourself, if you had some sort of experience where, we've all had our caregivers unconsciously teach us how to not listen to who we are at our base. And it's not even a conscious thing, it's what happens. But the thing about intuitives and empaths is that because we are so highly sensitive, we learn how to protect and shield ourselves from feeling that feeling of rejection, feeling that feeling of criticism. Yeah? Let me know in the comments if this makes sense. Feeling that feeling of they're going to judge me, because it is possible that that criticism was not emotionally safe or physically safe. Okay, let me know in the comments if that resonates with you. So on a deep unconscious level, our nervous system has learned how to protect ourselves against criticism, against judgment. So if we are as highly empathic people, if we don't allow ourselves or give ourselves the opportunity to work with that feeling, which is what we do, the very first thing we do with our clients is we do what we call the three-level clearing, and we clear, right, where that has been imprinted in your body, where has that imprinted in your mindscape, right? There's a story going on. They are going to, right, hurt me. And where has that imprinted energetically? That is a first lever that we need to pull as spiritual entrepreneurs, as highly sensitive, as empathic business owners, in order to move forward with success in our business, in order to move forward to where we want to go. And because for us, that operating system, and that's what it is, it's hi my milk. That operating system is how our clients operate. And for you, that's what you want to understand. How do your clients operate? So if you're on social media taking pictures of your food, or all this stuff, it has nothing to do with your client. And again, if you're on social media just to have fun and to just show your life, great. But we're talking about, putting yourself out there and selling your gift, right? If we're utilizing social media, the power of social media, to share what we have to share with a broader audience, right? So most of my clients don't live in this city. They live, all over the world. And if that is something that compels you to share your gift with the world, then we want to get really crystal clear on what our clients need to know about themselves, what they need to know about the process. So again, it's like those two components are the first two steps. And then number 3, what do your clients need to know about who you work with? Because we don't work with everyone. That's the thing. Sometimes here's the interesting thing. In our coaching calls, when our clients, we start to dive into who are their dreamiest clients, who do they want to work with, who are the people already attracted to them, who are the versions of themselves that they know for 1,000% that they can bring along their journey, right? And usually it's a journey of transformation. Usually it's a life-altering transformation that you've created for yourself and your clients, and you're trying to bring that, you're helping your clients do the same. So it's interesting because I had a client the other day, and he was getting really clear on who his client was. And here's the thing that here's the thing, as he was getting clear, immediately, and this is what's going to happen often with people who feel first, immediately what started to happen when he started gaining clarity on who his dreamiest client was, is there was part of him, and I would call it the ego part, the part of him that wanted to protect himself, started to immediately talk about why that client doesn't exist, why that client wouldn't want to pay for what he has to offer, and why that client wouldn't have success in their program, even though they've created success in their own life and with actual clients. So this is the crazy thing, right? It's like we have to understand who we work with and who we don't work with. And if you are starting to understand like who you want to work with, but then you immediately start to kind of shift or change your mind, it is not because it's not working, or when you put yourself out there, it's not actually who you're not actually, we misdiagnose things not working in our business on social media, and we immediately start to shift or change, who we want to work with. So I'll give you kind of like a brick and mortar example. So for example, and here's the thing, on social media, what we have to understand is 9 out of 10 people are not commenting on your stuff. And serious buyers are often taking, a while to really get to know who you are, what's the process, and are they the right person, right? So as I kind of mentioned at the beginning, they have to know, what do they need to know about themselves that maybe that they probably don't know about themselves. What do they need to know about the process, and what do they need to know about who you work with? And that takes a while, right? Hey Frankie, right? Sometimes that takes a while for when you're wanting to invest a four-figure investment with a coach or a service. You're going to take some time to get to know them, right? And so what we have to understand is, when we're on social media, um, there is a level of consistency and congruency, and knowing that 9 out of 10 people are not actually engaging with your stuff. Hello. Engaging with your stuff. So the example I like to give is, if you're you're a newly opened vegetarian restaurant, and you're at the corner of a location, whatever, at the corner of a certain place, and you're there for 6 months, and business is kind of slow. Like, people are kind of just coming in, maybe they're checking it out, looking at the menu, they're kind of checking out the vibe, they're checking out the people that work there, maybe they're talking to you as the owner, they're doing all that, and they're checking out the whole shebang, right? And they don't necessarily come in and eat. Yes. And 6 months down the road, they're like, okay, yeah, you know what, that vegetarian restaurant in the corner, I think I'm going to go there. But all of a sudden, you as a business owner, right? This is the analogy I'm giving you. You as a business owner decide to change your mind and say, oh my God, no, nobody is buying from me, so I'm going to switch to steak because maybe people want steak, right? So we kind of misdiagnose the lack of engagement with our stuff, the the people not necessarily engaging with you directly, as a sign like, oh my God, okay, I think I should change niches. I think I should just change businesses. And the truth of the matter is, when we are creating any business, right, whether it's a brick and mortar or whether it's something online, we have to develop that maturity, that discipline, that consistency, that congruency, and that certainty, that if we are continuing to be clear on what our client needs to know about themselves, what they need to know about the process, and what they need to know about who you work with, right? Then eventually that message is going to become clear, and understanding that conversation, that one conversation. So here's the thing, you're having one conversation with 1,000,000 people. You're not, or that's the analogy, or 1,000 people, or 10 people, or 2 people online. You're not having 1,000,000 conversations. Yeah, does that make sense? So your message wants to be this congruent message. So that person who's sitting on the corner in their vegetarian restaurant are constantly teaching people about their product, teaching them, like, I use organic whatever, and I do gluten-free, and I use like farm vegetables and that kind of thing. So people have to get to know the process, and get to know who you are and what you value, right? So that, I would say, would be the last point. The very last point to this is, we have to get really clear on steeping in the asset that we already have, which is understanding who we are and knowing who we are and why we're here. So selling at its ultimate base is knowing who you are and why you are here on earth. Because when we center in that truth and we come online, then what it becomes is a clear transmission for yourself and for your people. Because one, if we don't deal with, like I said, our deep core wounds, and we, for example, experience our first rejection online, or somebody sort of backlashing on what we do, right? That core wound is going to do whatever it takes to protect itself, right? It's going to maybe stop. It's going to shift focus and change niches, maybe, because that's maybe the place that's more safe and a place that's more protected. Does that make sense? Yeah? And so if we, as spiritual practitioners, get really centered on who we are and why we're here, what starts to happen is your message almost becomes a channel. It becomes something that moves through you. And I've talked about this before. In week 3, when we learn how to practice mental clarity, it becomes a place where that message moves through you, right? And comes down through you and out into the world. Right? So if we get centered on who we are and why we're here, that message becomes more of a natural conversation, a natural message, a natural knowing. And what starts to happen is when you start to listen to that knowing, we begin to trust ourselves. And nowadays, right, with all of the uncertainty in the world, because on a collective, there is a collective uncertainty, what people are looking for as you as the leader, right, as you as the one offering transformation to your people, they're looking for a level of certainty. Yeah, they're looking for a level of certainty. They're looking for a level of stability. They're looking for a level of clarity, right? And so that level of certainty and clarity can only come from within. And this is, if you were to work with me, this is what I continuously try to teach you guys, is can we continue to trust ourselves and discern, right? And I talk about this all the time, but discern the many different parts of you, the part that's going to try to protect you and be safe, and the part that is your highest stream of consciousness, right? Because, and I talk about this all the time, but I think it's so important for us to discern those voices, your kind of protector that kind of stops you from going to where you want to go, and your highest stream of consciousness are simultaneously speaking to you and speaking at the same time. And so we mistake it for the same voice. So for example, when my client had crystal clarity on who he wants to serve, right? And why he's serving them and how he's going to serve them, that was his highest stream of consciousness. And as soon as he said it out loud, because here's the thing, when you have a stream of consciousness, it is something that just comes through. And it often, you're like, oh, where did that come from, right? And then the protector comes online and it starts to think of reasons, because this is how the protector will think. It will think of, okay, let me think of all the ways and all the problems I can solve before I move forward. And then what starts to happen is the protector reasons us out of what our highest stream of consciousness just told us. So here's the thing. The cool thing about that is, because you have a protector, your clients very most likely will have a similar type of protector, a similar type of core wound, a similar mechanism to keep them safe. So guess what? This is your goal. This is if I can self-study this and understand how this works in me, right, then I can understand how it works with my clients. Yes? And so we don't want to misdiagnose this part of us as one being the leader of our life, but two, it can be a real place of awareness and a place of observation, yeah, for ourselves, and a place of what is my process to move me from that place of safety and protection into my highest stream of consciousness. And because you are where you are today, because most people who are online and trying to offer a gift is because they've been doing this for a good long while, decades of figuring out, I was once here, this was my deepest struggle, my deepest pain, and I've moved myself to a point in my life where I'm now here, and this is what your clients are longing for, to get to this place where their deepest struggle is happening in their life, and what they want most, right? To live a life of, knowing, with one of my clients, it was like, my clients want to know more than just the body. They want to know life from an energetic perspective. They want to understand how to show up to their life in their state of readiness, right? So that's what he understands about his kind of high level, high athletic, achieving, high health practitioner clients. That's what they're looking for, right? And sometimes when they're and with his clients, for example, they are so optimized that they're at another level of seeking. Now there's so many, and here's the thing, that with everyone, we all have a place where we're struggling, right? And it's all different levels, and it looks all different for everyone. And there's a place where we most want to go, and we most want to be, and we most want to live, right? So if we can center in why we're doing what we're doing versus making it about ourselves, right? Or making it about what other people will think, but really why we are here at our core, and what we know we are here, why we're here, and like who we're serving, and how we're serving. All of our imperfections and our humanity can still be held, because here's the thing, you're never going to be perfect, you're never going to fully heal, right? But you have to understand, if you have a practice of self-studies, this is what the practice of yoga is, right? The practice of studying the self. And you can see how you took yourself out of your deepest struggle into the place you want to be. You can help other people, but that takes, a process of really looking at that. It takes a process of seeing the data, because here's the thing, when we get crystal clarity on our dreamiest clients, it's very likely that those people, okay, either you've already, your number one client is yourself. But as you start, it's just natural, as you start bringing yourself out of a big pain, it's natural that you're going to try to help other people, right? So you want to start to look at that data, especially if you're already coaching out there, if you're already, very often we get into a field that is very close to what we want, but it's not exactly what we want. And so we're already in a place of service. Yeah, and so life is going to give you clues. It's going to give you data on points and places in your life where you are in service to a particular person, right? So at its core, when we put ourselves out there on social, and when we sell ourselves, right, and we are coming from that place where we truly continue to take our own medicine, because we've studied ourselves and we studied our own process, and we sit in the center of why we're really here and who we are at our core, not that part that's trying to protect us, but that part that really is like, it comes from that flow state, that stream of consciousness that will seep out if you have a safe container, right? And that's what, if you were to work with me, I try to provide our clients is a safe container for our egoic structures that try to protect us and the highest stream of consciousness. If we continue to learn how to trust in that highest stream of consciousness, that frequency is going to hold us when we are, it's going to hold all of our, all of those voices that like, oh my God, people are going to judge me. Oh my gosh, I'm not significant. Oh, I don't belong in this field. There's so many other people that are better than me. I don't think I have enough certifications. I don't think I have enough credentials. I don't think, people are really actually going to pay me for what I want. All of those voices which exists in everyone, in all 8 billion human beings on earth, when we steep ourselves and when we're centered in who we are and why we're here, that is going to hold the other part of ourselves. Because here's the thing, we're never going to get rid of our doubts and our need to be validated. We're never going to get rid of our thinking that maybe what I have to say is not important or not significant or it's not perfect or I'm not capable. Like, we're never going to get rid of those voices. That everyone has a little bit of a different, louder voice. Maybe it's about self-worth. Maybe it's about, not belonging. Maybe it's not feeling capable. Maybe it's not feeling perfect enough. Maybe it's not feeling you're enough, right? That everyone's going to have that voice. But here's the thing, when we steep ourselves in who we are and why we're here and we take our own medicine, then that frequency is going to override and it's going to hold place for that aspect of ourself that goes there. It just will, right? And when you're putting yourself out there on social media and you're not taking your own medicine, it's really hard, right? Because we're going to have, and especially for moving from the protector, we have what we call confirmation bias. So if we're like, okay, well, people are going to judge me, and all of a sudden you have a comment that is sort of, creating resistance or friction, then that confirmation bias of your protector, facts on that, right? Your protector and that one that's going to keep you safe is going to say, see, I knew it. I knew I didn't belong. I knew I was going to be rejected. Ooh, I knew I wasn't worthy of this. I knew I wasn't capable. But when you center yourself in that place where you know who you are and why you're here, right? Then that's going to be the driving force. So let's recap. Number 1, we need to know how to have one conversation, right? We need to know how to have one conversation. And that comes, and if you were to work with me, comes from a place of developing real clarity, right? On what your clients need to know about themselves, what they need to know about the process, and what they need to know about who you work with. Real clarity on what they're struggling with and what they most want. Real clarity on who your dreamiest clients are from a highest stream of consciousness, right? So when we are in practice of that, because that's what it is, it's in practice, it's in observation, it's in self-study of that, we can have a conversation, just like I mentioned, where I literally had a conversation where it was 2 phone calls, well, 2.5 phone calls, because we kind of ran out of time on the second one, where the client was somebody that was on my social media for I don't even know how long, to 2 conversations to now we're working together at a 4-figure investment, right? And that comes from not because I'm really good at sales and I convinced him. It's because I know who I am and why I'm here. And I also know what they need to know about themselves, what they need to know about the process, and what they need to know about who I work with. And that process, once your client starts to come to you, because here's the thing on social. First, it starts with you leading with value. Then it starts with your clients who are actually like, oh, into your values, starting to engage with you. And then it starts with a conversation of like, okay, all the things that they maybe didn't really know about themselves or the process or who you work with, then it starts to become a conversation. And then we have to know, well, how do we lead them towards working with us? So it has to be a clear path. And usually that path starts to happen when they actually start to ask you, oh, that program, right? If you don't tell people how to work with you, they're not going to know to ask, right? So when we give them a clear path to the sale, then they can actually start asking you like, oh yeah, you know that program where you help people, bridge the gap between your spiritual practice and your business, that thing where you're talking about the core wounds, that thing about marketing yourself and having a relationship with money, that thing that like, sales, like, all of that, like for our clients, all of that is their biggest challenge, right? And yet the thing that they want the most is to be able to put themselves out there and offer the gift to the world, right? Without those subconscious blocks. Yeah. So that's number one, really knowing that you can have one conversation with one of your dreamiest clients and really getting to know who that is from your highest stream of consciousness. Then you can have that conversation 1,000,000 times over, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. Second is the real understanding of the process, your process, and how can we teach our clients about the process that we have. So number one, in our program, we always get grounded in the body, because highly sensitive people need that. They need to implement business strategy by having being very grounded and having a nervous system that feels safe and that's regulated in the body. Number two, we help people process emotions, because there's all of this emotion that comes up, all of this resistance, all of these feelings that come up whenever we're moving towards where we want to go. And that's the thing. Resistance is actually a sign that you're moving closer to where you want to go. And all of these feelings, all of these emotions, and that's what you want to think about. What do you feel when you move towards what you want to go? And if it's a feeling of confusion, a feeling of doubt, a feeling that is holding you back, then you know it's an unconscious wound. So the process, right? And then once we kind of clear the spiritual house, then we can work on the business strategy, right? Very simple, timeless business strategies that are not based on trends and not based on the platform. It's just based on, marketing, sales, money 101. Right? It's nothing new, but it's spoken through the language of what highly sensitive business owners need to know, because they're feelers. And number three, who do you work with? And again, we go through that process of really understanding who are my dreamiest clients. Because when we do that, right, when we're working with our dreamiest clients, then life becomes, work becomes this place where you're doing it, you're excited, right, to work with the people you're working with, right? So ultimately you're the buyer, right? Because you're the one presenting everything out there, right? For you to allow yourself to work with your dreamiest client. Yeah. So if we just claim and own who we truly want to work with and get really clear on who that is, right, from that highest state of consciousness, then we're gonna want to work with our clients. Yeah. And lastly, as I keep on repeating, all of this is steeped in who we are and why we're here. And that's a practice of taking our own medicine, right? So we want to study our own processes, but we also want to follow it, right? So, if I'm going to put myself out there, then I have to get grounded in the body. I have to get clear. I have to process my emotions when I feel doubtful. Like, oh my God, I'm going to talk about sales. It's not a spiritual topic, right? I have to get clear on why I'm doing this and who I am, because if I get a sense of, some, what should I call it? What's the word? Pushback, right? And I'm not really clear on who I am and why I'm here, my egoic structure is going to crumble and I'm going to jump ship, right? And we know, and I guess the last thing that I mentioned is that we have to have consistency and congruency and the maturity to understand when you're building any business, right? Your people are not necessarily going to buy right away, right? Just because you put an offer out there, they're needing to understand themselves, they're needing to understand the process, and they're needing to understand who do you actually work with. Yeah. So I hope this is helpful on putting yourself out there and selling yourself, and hopefully it creates more clarity if you are having those feelings or those doubts, and that okay, it's not my service, and it's not because I'm not enough or not capable. It's again that deeper work that we are so good at, and that's why I start there, because that is our asset, right? Yes. So yes, Frankie says trusting the process, super helpful always. Yes, right? So when we take our own medicine, then we can begin to continue to trust that process over and over and over again, and we understand it works for ourselves, and it can work for other people. So if we're consistent, if we're congruent, if we're certain, if we're showing up as that leader with that certainty and that stability, that's what people are looking for, especially nowadays in the collective that is feeling uncertain, as feeling unstable, that has maybe kind of diving a little too much into the drama of things, or into the chaos of things, or the doom of things. They're looking for certainty, right? And so when we can find certainty in ourselves and stability in ourselves, we can share that with other people, right? And that's really what I want to teach all of you guys, is to understand that you have a gift, and you're not doing what you're doing for any other reason, because it's calling you, right? It's calling on your heart. So if any of this resonates with you, let me know, and if you're interested in that process, and if you're interested in understanding more about a program that can help you find who your dreamiest clients are, create a program that you can charge a 4-figure investment, start to put yourself out there online, and have a clear path to the sale, and start creating actual business in your social media platforms, not just visibility, then let me know. Jamie, I'm ready for a breakthrough yoga coaching call. And on that call, I'm going to send you an application. And I'm also on the call, we're going to really look, where is those subconscious blocks that are blocking me imprinted in my body, in my mind, and in my energy. That's the very first thing we do, because as feelers, that is going to create a physical environment for you to implement business strategy. It's going to create mental clarity for you to implement business strategy. It's going to create energy and momentum for you to shift out of what you don't want into what you do want. So you can DM me, or you can look in the comments. Katie's going to put the link to my Calendly. And otherwise, if you have any questions, let me know. Let me know your biggest takeaways. Let me know if you're here for the replay or if you're here for the live. And I will see you next week, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am going to be interviewing one of our most dreamiest clients, Eileen Burwell. And so stay tuned for that, because Her story is very inspiring. She shifted out of her 9 to 5 into working on her business full time, which can be a really scary thing, but at the same time, we can be inspired by her story, because if that's what's calling on your heart to really dedicate yourself to what it is you want to do, then we can know it's possible. So join me next week, 10 a.m. In the discipline of business and yoga. I'll see you there. I will come back and answer all your questions. Bye, guys.